Hello, greetings. I have been requested to make this video, so I will try. So I have to say that this is a topic I'm not completely sure how to raise. Because I have a feeling that no matter how sensible what I say is, and most people will probably agree that it's relatively sensible, uh, the human heart have a tendency to do exactly what it wishes anyway. So yeah. And to me, it seems like it's a topic that there's not that much you can say about it because it's really pretty logical, but very hard to follow. So, what's this topic? It's the issue of compatibility within the BDSM and Gorian various lifestyles. And yeah, now what do I mean by compatibility? I mean compatibility between the partners. Now, in any relationship, compatibility is extremely important because that does not mean that the partners has to be completely the same, but they have to have similar ideas and be on a similar playing field. A classic example of compatibility issues would be, for example, if you have a relationship where she really wants children and he does not. Then you have an issue there. Or like for example, my mother went on a date and there was this great guy, funny, intelligent, absolutely perfect for her. But like she said, his greatest hobby were to travel, and he was pretty well off. She has enough money to make do, eat well every day, have a house, all of those things. But she doesn't have enough money left to go on a lot of expensive vacations and so on. And she felt that if he had paid for her, she would feel wrong, that she would feel that she owed him something. So basically, they didn't work out because they weren't compatible by what they wished out of life. When you then look at power exchange relationships, whatever or not they are total power exchange, this becomes even more important because one of the parties give a lot of their autonomy over to the other partner. And as such, if the partner who then gives up his or her freedom ends up with a partner who has completely different life goals than themselves, you can very easily end up with very big issues. And very often this is the case with a problem with, for example, that I hear other Gorians speak of. Because, like I've mentioned in one of the other videos, there are a few Gorians who are on the Gor is best rampage. Basically saying that, no, you have bottoms, subs, BDSM slaves, and then you have Kachiras up here. And as a result, like I said, I don't agree with that, but there are quite a few Gorians who push for that view. And as a result of that, there's a lot of subs and people who might not be into a power exchange relationship who jumped on the submission is a competition bandwagon, and so they go and find themselves a Gorian. And what's the result? Well, suddenly they are faced with a total power exchange situation, and very often they are put in a situation where many people have this idea of Korean slavery as almost like a harem girl. You sit around in silks and pillows and have sex all day. And when then they are told, no, you're gonna work outside the home. Then you are gonna wash and clean and do all of the things for us, take care of the pets and so on. We might also have sex with you in the evenings. Then they go completely ballistic and go around to all their kinky friends and say how Gorians exploit them. Yeah, we do, because Gorians see slaves as slaves, not submissive girlfriends. Or rather, I should say, a lot of Gorians do. There are definitely Gorians who have the submissive girlfriend type relationship with their slaves, and nothing wrong with that, but there are also a lot of Gorians who have the directly slave idea. It's like a man I respect a lot. to a Gregorian who has a farm, and every now and then he gets approached by male slaves, and he says, "Yeah, sure, you can be my slave. You will sleep in the barn. You will work on the farm all day, every day. You will be fed, and your basic needs will be met." And generally, then he hasn't had any takers yet. Now, my point in telling all of this is basically if somebody who then wants to be a submissive girlfriend then comes into a situation where they are treated as a slave, then of course that is a compatibility issue. The same within BDSM. Let's say you have somebody who are wants to play pretty hard, wants to have edge play and so on, and they then sub for somebody who might not want pain play at all. Or on the other hand, you can have a dom that's completely into pain play, and then he meets a submissive who doesn't into it at all. Then one of the parties are going to end up being unhappy. Now, do I about this say that you can never have a relationship if all the important things don't match? No. However, if you're going to have a relationship like that, let's say we have, let's call him Johnny, who is a super sadist, and he then meets up with Jenny, who just wants a service-oriented relationship and are not into pain play whatsoever. And then, but everything else fits with them. They like one another, they like spending time together, they get that special feeling. Could they never work out? Well, they can, but there will be an extra difficulty because one of them or both are going to have to make serious sacrifices. Either Johnny is gonna have to not exploit that part of him that's very sadistic, or Jenny are going to have to handle pain when she isn't interested to, or she has to be okay with him getting his desires from somebody else. So it makes it more difficult, and it makes it very important to have an open conversation. So all of this should be pretty logical. We all have needs and wants and desires, but usually we have a few things that are very high on the list. And when we choose our life partners, whatever or not they are, our girlfriends, our husbands, our doms, our masters, whatever they are, we usually would want to have somebody who match in the key areas. How so that makes every kind of sense. So do I have some advice? Yeah, I do. First of all, it's very important for somebody who is the submissive party to ask questions. Now, of course, the more involved with the submission you will be, it's a bad word. How the more control you give away, the more important it is that you know the one you are going to submit to, and the more it's important that you get an idea that this person is compatible. Especially this is important for Gorians that usually do not have negotiations. They don't usually have a slave contract, all of those different things. It's usually the master laid down the law, the slave followed. That's the gist of it. And then it becomes very important that the slave know the master. For example, a situation that I heard of where there was a huge issue was this. There was this master who definitely did not want children in his life. And there was a slave that submitted to him. And she had 3 kids. And one of the first things he ordered her was, "You will give up custody of your children to your ex-husband. You may go and see them if you wish, but they will not live with you." And of course, everybody went into a rage. But here's the thing. I don't think he did anything wrong. She's his slave, his property. The one that did something wrong was that she never, like she said, afterward, she never asked him beforehand what he taught children. Of course, then she begged release, they left one another, all is fine. But the point is this, it's important to know the person if you're going to put your life in their hands. And it's important to know, will they be walking a similar path to what you're interested in? But this is also very important when it comes to other kinds of submission. You have to know that this is a person that you can be happy with. And yeah, and I mean, like for example, I'm a Gorian free woman. If you have seen any of my other Gorian videos, you know that I'm not your traditional constructionalist. I wear chokers, I wear earrings, speak pretty, I speak my mind of freedom. And if I had ended up being companioned with one of, yeah, for example, I had a discussion with somebody yesterday who said, no, if a man ever tells you just with words that you're a slave, then you immediately should surrender. If I ended up with one of those, I mean, that relationship would have lasted 5 femtoseconds before one or the other had killed the other person. So, yeah, any situation where you end up submitting to somebody, you need to make sure they walk a similar path. And what can I give advice for that? Get to know this person before you submit. A problem within BDSM of all kinds and also within Gore is that everything has to happen so goddamn quickly. That's the problem. I mean, usually in vanilla relationships, you have a date and then you have a couple of dates. You don't end up in a relationship immediately like this. However, I have been asked seriously people who say, "Hi, I live in Egypt. I want to just send over tickets to you so you can come and live with me in Egypt." This is people I haven't talked with. I mean, on Old Color Me, there used to be discussions all the time. How quickly can you move on from discussing with somebody until you have a relationship? And usually said, now you meet with them once and then you can immediately surrender to them. It's a culture for moving very quickly from the point where you talk with somebody to the point where you're in a relationship with somebody. And I do not think that's wise. And of course, not all within the power exchange community do this. However, it is a tendency to be like that. So get to know the person you are going to surrender to well. Ask questions, because do remember that before you beg that color, no matter how deep your surrender will be once that color is on, and by deep I do not mean meaningful, I mean no matter how much of your autonomy you are giving away, before you have that color on, you have the right to ask any question you wish. And if the dominant master, whoever it is you're talking with, doesn't want you asking questions, do this. Goodbye. I have to put it very bluntly, not very ladylike. So, yeah. And does this hold the same for dominance? Oh, hell yes. Here's the thing. The dominant is the one that's taking the greatest risk. Because the way society is built, usually it's enough for the submissive to cry rape, and you're done. I mean, we've had situations like that in Norway. We had one situation where it was this couple that liked to edge play. So it was, I mean, this isn't question. This is what happened. She said she wanted to be bound and gagged and him then to have his way with her as much as he wanted. So he did. He bound her and gagged her. He had sex with her. Then later she said that in the middle of it she decided she didn't want to anymore. But she was gagged. She couldn't tell him. And of course, as soon as he took the gag out and she said, "No, I don't want anymore," he released her, let her go. He did everything right. So he was convicted of rape because he didn't telepathically understand she didn't want anymore. So dominant is extremely vulnerable. So you should definitely get to know a submissive before you accept doing anything with her. To know that this is a person he can trust. That even if the relationship goes sour, she won't just call the cops on him. In addition, of course, a dominant or master, whatever you want to call it, within your particular lifestyle or creed, heart is also vulnerable. And also, especially in a total power exchange relationship or in a master slavery relationship like we'll find in Gor, you are taking the responsibility for another human life. You better get to know that person pretty well before you take on that responsibility. And know that you can provide for this person in a way that will make them healthy and happy. And I mean, for the dominant side of it too, my advice is always talk with the person, figure out if you're compatible. So, yeah, I mean, we are all different people. And I do believe that out there are people that are perfect for us. But it's very easy to let desires and your heart carry you away and just toss yourself into something that you're not really ready for or with a person that is an issue with. So, I mean, get to know a person well enough to know who they really are, what they really need to be happy, and whatever or not that match with what you really need to be happy. If their morals, their views on things match, doesn't mean you have to be completely the same, but it means you have to be. Is this a person that you can live with? Can you walk the same road together and both be happy? Because whatever or not you're vanilla, or Gorian, or BDSM, or any other lifestyle, both parties deserve to be happy. So yeah, that's about what I have to say about that thing. Um, MC who watched this video, I hope you're happy with it. Have a great day and blessed be.